I feel equally accomplished and like I did nothing today. But in a good way. I feel fulfilled. Somewhat sleepy. I mean, it's getting to that time. I had first contact with that little one. He came, or she, or whatever it is, it came and nibbled on my ear. Chocolate. And this one was a little bit jealous because she's like, wait a minute. She was on my laptop at one point and she's like, what's going on there? And she jumped up and just wobbled up my arm and then didn't fight with the other one, but just kind of, I don't know if it was jealous of me or it. Dabuyu, dabuyu, dabuyusor, dabuyut. All day it's been like this. I don't know what this love is about today. Hold on. I have a poop situation, I think. I can't see. Maybe not. Anyways, so I'm just discovering I'm in this state of being fed up. I'm fed up of manipulation. Fed up of it. And I was replying or sharing or whatever a post about ADHD and how apparently if you go to get tested, you basically they try to rule you out of test, like convince you to not get tested. May puyo, puy, puy. Anyways, and gosh, me. And I realized as I was writing my story caption, I'm like, I realized I'm just like fed up in general. I'm just really fed up. I was fed up on my live yesterday. I'm fed up with all the news. I'm fed up with like everything. And I realized, one, for 8 years, I've been silent. I've been afraid to post, whether from a kind of political like fear, like personal safety fear or relationship safety fear. Like I didn't want to put my relationship in jeopardy or whatever with, what I posted. Um, and I'm talking about like anything, not just like about the relationship. So for one, like I've just suppressed my own voice for so long. I've listened to other people and other institutions, whether it's like organizations or communities or whatever, to she's like just determined to suppress my own voice, you know? I remember the first time that I was told to was by a family friend, and I was posting some political stuff, and they basically tried to make me fear doing that. Um, Rightly so. I understood, they were Romanian, so I understood where they were coming from. That they were afraid. They know what can happen. They know that you can be jailed and, you know, as people say on YouTube and stuff, unalived, which I think like potato. Are we trying to say that the algorithm hasn't caught on to that word? It's like somehow better. And I've noticed a lot of YouTubers just kind of not, you know, watching the words that they use. They just talk like normal people because we're normal people and, listening to normal people. Anyways, but yeah, um, so that was like one. And then two, I think there's more, but like the other big one was after 8 years, almost a decade of a relationship where everything's kind of turned around and repainted, like everything that's like reality is like just turned around on its head sometimes, maybe not all the time on its head, just slightly around at times. And not like on purpose, sometimes on purpose, always I feel like in self-defense, wrong self-defense, like there's nothing to fear, but like that's what you get when someone isn't working on themselves and isn't healing and isn't doing work and is just walking around with wounds and brokenness. Honestly, I've been afraid to even say that word. Oh my gosh. Because that's like one example of, you know just like nudgingly nudgingly being, um having it understood that speaking honestly, is going to get me in some sort of like hot water. And that like phrase or idea was one of them. But the truth is, just because someone doesn't want to hear something like they're broken doesn't mean that they're not. Um, and because also the fact is, we are all broken in some way. I know most of my brokenness. Maybe there's some blind spots still, but I've like studied myself so much, and I've tried to change myself, which also makes you learn about yourself when you're trying to change, because start realizing who you have been so far, who you're trying to be, and by trying to be something, you realize there's a difference in between. Um, but anyways, so that also has made me just like fed up. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be like suppressed anymore. I'm not gonna be just constantly walking on eggshells and uh keeping truth from people and like knowledge from people that just can't handle it. And I know that sounds, sometimes we say that and we don't realize that we're not actually knowledgeful, but I've had a lot of years, a lot of self-reflection and reflection and outside reflection. Like I've gone, to therapy so much, and so it wasn't just like me. I think this is like the big moment, slowly, that woke me up from um like sleeping on myself or on life or whatever. Oh my gosh, she's really annoying. Oh my gosh. um was meeting a therapist that was very blunt about what is reality and what is not fair, and made me realize the eggshells I was walking on. And um yeah, and I say this not to um paint any particular picture. Oh my gosh, me, not to paint any particular picture. um I recently spoke to some, who did I speak to? Oh yeah. About my relationship and stuff. And like I am not over here saying like the cliche stuff. I don't really feel like people are just innately bad and they're like out to get you. Because I'm also not truly a dismissive avoidant, because that's the attachment style that feels like people are out to get them. And everyone's out for their own agenda and blah 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 blah. I don't think so. I think it's everything's kind of born from insecurities and trying to protect ourselves, and how we decide what that is depends on like various factors. I'm not gonna like get into the details right now. So I think, yeah, I don't feel like I'm not unfair. And when people like, it bothers me, some it doesn't bother me. I just like, I gently correct people when they start painting a picture of my ex or my relationship that is kind of like a caricature of something, where when you live through something, like you have your resentments, you have like your yeah, your resentments, and you have um I guess some, like, fond memories or whatever. But like I'm talking more about like the bad stuff. You have your resentments, but that doesn't mean that you are unfair about who that person is or how things went, and that's where I've always stood, and um nothing's changed in that. And yeah, however, like these years, this has been like the cost that it's gotten me. That doesn't make sense. But that's like part of it. Like my brain isn't functioning well anymore. I not only am lacking or have had knowledge atrophy, but also just like simple skills like putting sentences together or thoughts together. My like ADHD or whatever is like off the charts. Um, there's a lot of like nervous system dysregulation, and um yeah, so I think that's kind of those two things especially are the roots of how much I'm fed up with things. I love how she doesn't get it. Like I don't mind her like just chilling here or whatever, but like don't be right in my mouth. Um she's like planning her route down again. Um and then there was like a third one too. Just the craziness that is currently happening, the attempts that are currently being made, um, in the government arena and stuff. And not just the government, like when I say that, I don't mean just the people in power and the government. I mean people who look at the news and what those people try to do or enact or whatever, their actions and words, and like not even agree but like support or like are happy, and they think it's the right thing. And it's like just like really makes you really fed up with that side of humanity, of like wake up. I think this whole story with Harvard was definitely one of those moments that kind of made it somewhat come together a little bit more. I mean, Harvard, however you want to call it, for the elite, like people, getting in there, it's like either like really poor people or like really rich people, and then everyone else in between kind of gets lost. Like you have to be like a superhuman or like someone who, well, a superhuman either way, someone who is like extremely rich and or smart, or extremely poor and or smart. And I don't mean that people who don't go there aren't smart, because they won't last. But like it's not just like about being smart is what I'm trying to say. It's like there's so many levels that you need to pass in order to go there. But it is like one of the most famous universities and institutions, especially for law. And so you're telling me that this person who is doing so many unlawful things and trying to dismantle law is thought that it was going to be easy, or like thought that he could just like go to like the ultimate body of like law degrees basically, of course there's like so many. My one friend went to another university that's also very famous for law programs. I'm just saying, like in movies, in the world, when you think of law, you think of Harvard Law. And not only that, but also just like smart people. So what in the world did he think that he could, like, go against them? Like, these are smart people. These are not like you and me. And not that we're not smart, but like, they are, whether they're professors or students, are in the knowledge. It's like not like us that got, a degree and we're not using, or we had a class in history or math or whatever, and we now can't even think of what we're learning, much less do it. Like, those people are currently in it, knowing history and laws and everything. And I'm sorry, like, like, I'm just, like I said, like, my brain, my putting thoughts together and sentences together is like challenged lately, the past year especially. So I don't mean to offend anyone, but at the same time, I'm also just like super fed up on walking on eggshells. I am not coming from a mean place, or from yeah, I'm not coming from a mean place. I'm not trying to do that. And I will say some stupid things or some inconsiderate things, but I feel strongly about like the main message of like, what will it take for everyone to be fed up and to actually come to their senses and wake up. The Romanian anthem is literally, it starts with "Wake up, Romanian." Deșteaptă-te, române. This is what like the US needs to like get to, like, wake up, wake the heck up. It's not about, I don't know, whatever you think it's about just like being human. We're not being humans. I mean, well, you could say, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. This is so annoying. Go. Um, I was going to say also morality. There's that. I was saying that on my live yesterday, on my live stream. But yeah, I mean, it is about morality. But it's like, how much, what does it take for us to be fed up with just unlawful, immoral, stupid, helps no one but maybe a couple of people in this world? And at the end of the day, it's not going to help them either, because it's not going to make them better. I thought about this too, like, because another big story is JD Vance and the whole like trophy for whatever coming apart. And I was thinking, like, these two guys look ridiculous. They look so pathetic and so foolish to everyone else. The whole, not the whole, obviously, not the whole US, but a lot of the US is ashamed that they are in power. And it just shows you how, like, if you don't work on yourself, nothing's going to make you look cool. Nothing's going to make you look smart or good or better, or a leader, or at the top, or be revered or be respected. Like, they're not earning respect with this. They're earning at best fear. And to some brave people out there, they're not even earning that. So, like Harvard, that is all that's happening. And so, how long, or what would it take for everyone to get that through their own minds and look at themselves and look at the world and do something different? Because these people, nothing can save them. Although JD Vance is young, but I think he's like too in an echo chamber to know to change and to work on himself and become, respectful and cool and good and smart and all this stuff. The only thing he will potentially go, like Blake Lively, because I covered that a lot, you can see certain people, even though they're like young enough, that it will take like a whole miracle in an asteroid to make them change into people with decency and like knowledge and humbleness humility, humbleness, humility. And I mean humility like how smart people are humble, not like, the fake humility that religion teaches and stuff. um I said quite a lot of controversial things, but here I go. um it's an odd time because I should be very, and I am very afraid to speak up. And it can be very dangerous right now to speak up about anything. Like in a year, we don't know where we'll be. And, I may, because all of this will, like, be here for, even if I take this off, it'll still be here. And so, like, if we go from worst to the worst, there's a chance I could be put in jail and all the other things, just because I said some things that uh, people with very fragile egos would take offense to and think and not understand what I'm actually saying and think it's an attack and just feel the pain that they feel and not think about what it actually is, and therefore just attack me for putting up a mirror or something. So who knows? Hopefully that's not gonna happen. But I think how they say, like, um I don't know, I forget the phrasing, but something about like there's no wrath like the wrath of a woman scorned or something like that. There's no fearlessness, or I mean, not fearless, but there's no like whatever, like someone who's been suppressing their own voice for so many reasons. And I've learned that it does nothing good. Didn't help me, didn't help my relationship, didn't help the world, didn't help my family or my friends or anyone around me, didn't help my community, didn't help anyone or anything that I've suppressed my voice. And I try to play, the keep in your lane part and not even have a lane, just be voiceless and just like be agreeable and whatever else, you know? So it's not that I'm fearless or that I have courage, it's that I'm just fed up. It's not that I don't have anything to lose, because I feel like my life is pretty big to lose and I don't want to lose my life. But it's I don't know, just like the fed up. I'm just fed up. I can't control the impulse to speak up about stuff because I've controlled it for so long, pushed it down for so long. I like Armie Hammer's analogy of the beach ball that you push underwater, and like it just from physics or pressure or whatever, like it can't stay that way forever. Like you get tired of holding it down, etc. And at one point it just like bounces back up, and it bounces maybe too high, but it bounces up and then it lands on the surface of the water again eventually. I've not gotten to my bounced high. I'm just merely breaking the surface right now. And I don't know if I'll have to go all the way up to balance out, to like get myself back on the surface of the water. But yeah, I just wanted to speak on that because I was just so enraged last night on my streaming, and I'm so fed up. I'm so fed up, and not just with politics. I'm just like, that's the thing. Like, it's not about politics. It's not about like laws or whatever. That's like part of, those are like some symptoms. But it's like about the society, the lack of it, the lack of a society, the disgrace that we're like bringing to ourselves as like people individually and as, a country and countries, because the US is not the only one. We have so many advancements, so many things in our palms and in our laps or whatever. And this is what we do right now. We go backwards and just do bad things for no reason. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And the other part is that, has me fed up, that it's like I can't use universal language for all of the things. But I was watching the women in space, thrown into space or whatever thing with Katy Perry and whoever. And, there was at least one woman that was so deserving of that, and was so rightfully there. And I'm not saying that Katy Perry wasn't. If you have money, okay, whatever. But it's just the marketing. I'm so sick and tired of marketing. And especially, like, I keep thinking of the origin of marketing. Look that up. I don't want to, that is like a line that I kind of draw for right now. Speaking too much about that, but like that's where marketing comes from, and that's why a lot of people criticize the US and say that American people are brainwashed. This country is run on marketing. And what is marketing actually? Look it up. Look the origin of marketing. I don't know. It feels sometimes like I'm not the only one who feels this way, and I hear so many voices online. But sometimes I also feel like we're the minority. And what would it take for everyone to like wake up? What would it take for everyone to just be fed up of not being happy and not being safe and not being wealthy and healthy and better, you know? Because I strongly, I don't believe that the ultra rich are all that happy and all that healthy and all that wealthy. And I'm not talking about money. They definitely have the money. But you can also spend it a lot more too, the bills just go up just as well. Um, but like they have a lot more peace of mind. Um, they have a lot more resources, but ultimately they're like, you can see they're still searching to fill that void, because being powerful, being rich on empty bases does not fill that void. Yeah, I don't know. Just felt inspired to speak. I haven't really um I've been struggling editing and putting together vlogs and all that stuff, and I'm just overwhelmed, and I'm just overwhelmed. It's been a very rough time, you know. Um it's been a very confusingly rough time, because like I go on these streams and lives, and I sometimes get like have really high spirits on it, or I think part of me is also just putting up that front that I just need to put up, because it's really nice to go somewhere to work on something where you can like pause anything that's going on in the world, in your world, and just be present, and that's kind of what that is. And otherwise I've just been so exhausted that I can barely kind of move around. um and it feels like it'll never end. It feels like, because it took quite a few years to get here, and it feels like it just will never end. And that's why I think this ADHD like clip on Instagram prompted me to do this, because I've it's not that I need to be diagnosed with something. I've already been diagnosed with ADHD, but not like, you know, um officially, I guess. I mean, officially, like by some like person that's certified in it, that does whatever tests they do that are also kind of subjective. Um, but by a trained, mental health professional. I have been diagnosed twice by two people. So it's like, okay, yeah, I know that. And also, it does not take a genius when you see that you can cross off almost every single, you know, part of the definition of it or diagnosis of it. So, yeah, so I don't need a diagnosis. I need people to care about people. I need a good society. I'm so fed up. And is this like, is this it? Is this like life? There are people living in such like good places, like Finland and Sweden and all those places that are, they keep being said to be like the happiest places. And looking up as to why, it's about like trust in each other and taking care of one another, and things that we feel like is utopian here in the US, because we've been trained to believe that it's unreachable, that it's impossible, that it's, just it doesn't happen. But other places do it. There's so many people, and there's so many Americans that you see that travel outside of the US, that start living outside of the US. I even like have spoken with people that were, with the army and stuff, stationed in Germany and Korea and all sorts of places, and how like they equally know that it's better outside of the US, at least lately. And even before, not because of the politics part. That's like a whole other layer, but just the way that society is created here, because it's all just smoke and mirrors marketing. It's not about one another. Two people actually told me that in like 50 years ago it was different, and it was like what the rest of the world is. Um, but we are not 50 years ago. A lot has changed, and it seems like it's changing for the worse, and it's just crappy. And I'm like, why was I born in this lifetime? Why now? Why did why? I also don't believe in karma, because I see people that do bad things get rewarded for it, and there's no, like, I've not seen like, oh, but they actually do get it in other ways. No. So I don't believe in that. But at the same time, I feel like that too. Like, what did I do to deserve to be in such a crappy society, in such a crappy time? Why not the US 50 years ago? Why not like somewhere in Europe now? Why, whatever? I don't know. And why can't we, like, that's the other part. It's like, I don't necessarily want to be in Europe or want to be here. It's like, I just want to be in a healthy society, in a good society that is not impossible to have, no matter what people say, because people in many countries of the world live in it. And it's funny because the people lacking in that will make you believe that, oh, but they're not actually that happy, or they don't actually have all that much, or it's not perfect. It's like, that's just because you can't achieve it, because you don't want it, because you're not, or you want it but you can't get it, or you're just stupid or something. I'm sorry for like, again, I'm just like fed up on trying to like be the best version of me. That I'm It's weird, because maybe I just need to let that ball go all the way up, because I'm simultaneously wanting to work on being who I would want to date, because I've lost that person. The person who was engaged and knowledgeable about polit- political things, and about societal things, and about science, and about all sorts of things, lost her. Someone who could speak rather well, besides, I think, the whole ADHD, you go and you run in circles and you open branches and you jump from branch to branch, and it's like, where did we go? Besides that part. Um, Someone who had like strong like values and was like really confident in herself and all that stuff, but and many more, like many more. Kindness, empathy. I've been struggling. It is really, that's a whole other topic for another time. But I remember this incident that happened to someone else, and I was a witness to it, and I remember not feeling empathy and actually mistrusting that they were actually hurt. And I also simultaneously was like, this has never been me. I've never felt this way and been this like mistrusting and this, I think apathetic is right, the opposite of empathetic. Um and like not caring and stuff. This isn't me. This is what like people get from me right now because of like the last few years. And not just, again, not just the relationship part. It's just like the last few years with everything, with like jobs and like just the wrong job places, um and just constantly just having had everything that I valued and felt good, that it's a good thing to have as a human being, just like continuously carved out or attempted to be carved out of me. But at the same time, I'm just so tired, and so tired of like being perfect and the stupid eggshells that I'm like, how am I going to balance the two? Because I can't have both. I can't be the best of me and the worst of me at the same time. So yeah, but that's on a more personal note. Anyways, almost got my camera, or like I should have put you horizontally, but here we are. Whatever. Just so overwhelmed, fed up, and tired. And many other emotions. On this note of parakeet, I'll talk to you later.